Hello everyone, and welcome to our webinar on identity theft protection. I'm Ben McIntyre, your client executive here at Abenity, and I'm here today with Paul Broyles from InfoArmor. Abenity has had a partnership with InfoArmor for multiple years now, and in one of my first weeks at Abenity, I got introduced to Paul. He and I ended up meeting here in Nashville, where I live, and before that meeting with Paul and before getting to experience the InfoArmor product, I really had no idea how big of a problem data breaches were today and how, because of that, identity theft has become such a larger issue in our world today. It truly blew me away, and I am so glad that we're able to find a time to do this webinar with Paul. I think it's vitally important for all of us and critically important for some of your members, unfortunately. But it truly is so important that we discuss this topic and do what we can to help protect the people around us. So Paul, welcome.
Ben, thank you, and thanks to the Abenity team for your ongoing partnership and interest in the InfoArmor solution. And welcome to those that are joining on the webinar. Glad we could have a few minutes to communicate what we feel is a very important and extremely timely message all around security, identity theft, and the apparent ongoing issue that data breaches continue to present as a challenge. And so what we want to do is sort of all start in the same place, if you will. I'm going to provide just a real simple framework for today's webinar. As follow-up, you're going to be able to reach directly back out to Ben. Ben at Abenity.com will be the quickest way to hear back. Anything you see today, whether it's a link to a website, if it's a PowerPoint, if it's a PDF, we can send any and all of those resources to you. Just simply make that request of Ben at Abenity.com. So where we are today, if we sort of take a big picture view, we see that we've got a challenge, and we're going to talk about the most recent well-known breach of one of the major credit bureaus. We're going to speak about that specifically momentarily, but to do that, we're going to take first a step back, and quickly you can see with this infographic on the screen what the issue of identity theft represents really out in our economy. We just know statistically about every 2 seconds someone experiences an identity theft. Last year, there were over 15 million separate incidences of ID theft. Unfortunately, it is the fastest growing crime in America. It had a $16 billion impact in the economy last year. It's just a tremendous number. If we shift to the right towards the solution, this is all we do, and it's one of the differentiators that the InfoArmor team brings to the equation. It's our only business. And so with that laser focus, we're protecting information, we're monitoring, we're alerting, we're doing restoration, we're providing reimbursement. And a lot of that takes place through our $1 million insurance policy that we'll also talk about just a little bit later. One thing I do want to call out that's sort of unique with InfoArmor is pre-existing conditions. And you might think, well, those things don't really go together. Usually you think about medical insurance or even dental insurance. Well, pre-existing identity theft is very real. And I've got some info I want to show you from PricewaterhouseCoopers. So if you know that name, PwC, second largest accounting firm in the world, once a year puts out what they call their Employee Financial Wellness Survey. So in 2016, last year, you can see here that 17% of employees say they've been a victim of identity theft. So keep that number in mind. When we move to this year, 2017, that number went from 17% to 21%. So if we can rely on these numbers, we can interpret from that essentially 1 out of 5, potentially 1 out of 5 of your employees at work today could be dealing with identity theft. They may not know it. They might be right in the middle of it trying to fix it on their own, or they may be just coming out of that episode and still need some help. One of the things we really deliver as a value add is we can help those employees who today on the job are dealing with this. And we know when an employee has identity theft, we know stress goes up, productivity tends to go down. So if you do some quick math, let's say you have 5,000 employees in your organization, potentially that's over 1,000 employees, 1 in 5, that may be wrestling with this issue. And again, it's something that we can help those folks on day one. So we feel like there's a ton of value included in that membership. Going to spend just a couple of minutes maybe opening some of the folks on the webinar's eyes for the first time as to the extent of how prevalent is the data breach world. And so this is an interesting site that you can have access to. We can send you the link. And so from a visual perspective, let's just talk about Equifax. It's the most recent. It's the one most folks know about. We've all heard the 143 million. It essentially is about 80% of those in the workforce today has already had their information breached. Now, let's talk about the difference between a breach and an identity theft. A breach means the info's out there. That does not necessarily equate to identity theft, although we know statistically that you're about 9 times more likely to have your identity stolen if you're involved in a part of a breach. And so the odds go way up if you're part of a breach that your identity will likely be compromised. So what's interesting here is this goes back historically. So Anthem was a large health insurance carrier, big breach in 2015. MySpace, a big breach. If you scroll back down to 2014, boy, there were some big names that year. You probably have heard about the Target breach, Home Depot, eBay, JP Morgan Chase. I mean, goodness, these are household names all wrestling with this same issue. And if we keep scrolling, we end up going back as far as 2004, 13 years ago, where there were little known and frankly, not much activity around the breach world, or at least that was reported. So we can see here that no industry is exempt, no organization is exempt. Our federal government has been a part of these breaches. LinkedIn, Yahoo, probably the biggest when it's all said and done. Their second go round in breaches. So, hey, we're all at risk, and that's why we're on the phone today. We're going to take a quick quiz because I deal with clients all over the country, all group sizes, and an interesting percentage say, well, it's never happened to me, or knock on wood, it's never happened. And I'd like to communicate today that knock on wood is not a strategy. And so we need to be a little more strategic, a little more thoughtful and proactive in helping fight this risk. And so, Ben, will you be my volunteer, and can I ask you just a few questions so we can do this quick survey?
Absolutely.
So, do you have a credit report?
Yes, I think I'm looking at the list there, and I think I've done multiple of those things. So, yep.
Yep, I think we all can say yes there. Have you applied for a job or worked for the federal government since 2000?
Yes.
And have you signed up for an account for any of these websites? Yahoo, LinkedIn, eBay,
Yeah.
Twitter, Twitch?
Absolutely. Not Living Social, LinkedIn and Slack. Twitter, yeah, I was an early tweeter. I think that's it out of those.
Okay. Do you have health insurance by any of these carriers? Anthem, Primera, Community Health?
Care First. I don't believe any of those, no. But I have shopped at Home Depot.
And then have you used a credit or debit? Okay, good. So Home Depot,
Yep.
UPS, Target, any of those, T-Mobile, Hilton?
Yeah, Target was definitely one that I remember back at the time having our bank reach out and say, hey, we got to replace your card.
Okay. So let's just do the quick math on the left in the column here.
Wow.
If we add these up quickly, I see 7, 8, 13, 16, 17, I see 22 incidences potentially where your information was exposed.
Wow.
And so even on this webinar, you mentioned earlier before your arrival at Abenity that the awareness level was not that high
Right.
of the threat of identity theft. So you're a perfect example, pretty content, smart, educated, aware, but not really aware of the identity theft, specifically the threat it represents. And here we are, just in a matter of a minute or two, we've uncovered potentially 20 plus points of exposure. And so we go through that exercise to just hopefully hear your agreement that, hey, the time's come where we have to look at this. If one of the largest credit monitoring bureaus in the business, if they have a breach, I think it's fair to say that any organization could experience a breach, and that the time has come to at least look at the options, consider alternatives, and hopefully find a good partner. So with that in mind, I just want to spend a few minutes talking about sort of what we do, what we believe. Really what we believe is wrapped up in everything we do. And so we believe simply that too many employees are unnecessarily exposed and they're subject to data theft and cyber crimes. And as I mentioned, when this happens, we know financial stress goes up, productivity tends to go down, and there's a real dollar cost to the employer. We believe families are at risk and need our help. And we believe the best way for employees to protect themselves is through the job site, through the work site, on a group basis. And so it really is about the why more so than the what. We help our partners fight evolving threats. We truly are in a business of helping our members, and we actually measure our success. I'm going to share with you shortly some of our call center metrics, which I think are really important as you think about offering a solution to your employees. So what's different about InfoArmor? A couple of things. We've been around now. This is our 10th year, privately held. We've exclusively worked in the B2B space. We have sort of emerged as the go-to partner in the large employer space. In fact, as of January 1, we are approaching 100 of the Fortune 500 as clients. And so we likely have names of organizations and clients that you would recognize, potentially even in your industry. We also not only distribute through partners like Abenity, but national global brokers not only offer InfoArmor to their clients, they actually chose us to cover their internal employees. Organizations like Aon and Mercer, Willis Towers Watson, Lockton, Benefit Focus, Business Solver. These, again, are all organizations who have visibility on all the players, and yet they've all picked InfoArmor for their own internal folks. And so the biggest account I could tell you about, I think that would have meaning, is the Federal Reserve. We onboarded them in 2015 after an extensive and exhaustive due diligence process. We were fortunate enough to win that account, and they've been a great partner of ours. So this singular focus, I think, is real beneficial. It's not a sideline. It's not a complimentary service. Again, it's all we do. And our 99% client retention should speak highly of how we take care of clients and meet those needs. Little more scale on InfoArmor. As of January, we will be over 1,000 clients. I mentioned 100, right at 100 of the Fortune 500. Just about every account renews year over year. Our population that we cover is a little north of 5 million covered members, and we are debt-free. We're growing, essentially doubling in size year over year. So you can feel good about InfoArmor being your partner. Security is our business. That's why we're here. And so we have the accreditations, the certifications, the documentation. We have a couple of off-site security data centers around the country with the biometric multiple layers of authentication to have access. We store no data in our home office. These are all stored, information is stored off-site in our data centers. I mentioned sort of where we are in terms of a client base. You may see names here that you recognize. We've added some recently. UPS is one that we picked up earlier this year, one of the larger accounts. And Disney. You see Disney on our logo sheet here. Just want to call out that Disney started as a voluntary benefit 4 years ago, and they upgraded to employer-paid, where they're just paying to cover all employees, and that's something we'll talk about towards the end of our time today. So what do we do from a product perspective? Think of it in terms of really three buckets, if you will. There's monitoring or alerting, there's restoration, and there's reimbursement. And just about every service that you learn about or we talk about are going to fall into one of those three categories. And most of our value, I believe, is delivered in that restoration component. Credit monitoring is sort of a commodity. We've got some proprietary proactive monitoring and alerting we do that we don't think others do. And then on the back end, when we're doing that restoration, we're going to reimburse and make whole where that employee may be out of pocket. They may have had to take some time off of work. They may have incurred some legal or accounting fees. They may have had to pay a child babysitter for child care or elder care. And so we've got some triggers inside our insurance plan that will help restore financially and get that employee back to where they were before the event. A couple of differentiators here. Threshold monitoring there in the middle. That was new this year, sort of a new add-on where you can set on checking and savings and even credit cards dollar amounts, and we'll alert you when your balance reaches a certain amount or charges over certain amounts or withdrawals or deductions. So it's just being more proactive and being more educated around all of your accounts. Implementation, gosh, I think this is probably one of the things we do best. We have this down to a science. I mentioned we'll be over 1,000 launched accounts soon. Our folks, extremely professional, efficient, and again, I think this is one of the best things that we do is to get that accounts launched on time and communicate the offer in a professional manner. Account management, sort of the back end. Once the group is up, folks are covered. We're going to do reporting, let you know how folks are using the plan, numbers of alerts, what types of alerts. And so we just encourage people to utilize the InfoArmor protection, utilize the portal, call our customer service. They're there 24/7, and to be sure you're getting full value from your membership. Marketing is all about, well, how do we get the word out? And that's part of what we're doing today is a front-end marketing approach where we're saying, hey, we're here, there's a problem, we have a solution, and that's all around the marketing message. As far as enrollment communication materials, for example, or even post-enrollment, if you come on board, we would, on the effective date, email a welcome kit to the members, and then about 2 weeks later, we're actually going to mail them a hard copy welcome kit to their home. And this just gives you a sense of some of the pieces that we can use to communicate. We typically will co-brand. We'll take your logo and make sure they recognize that what they're sending is important. We also have a number of videos that become a part of that. I've covered a little bit about the restoration. We sometimes call it remediation. Our folks are certified from a couple of different organizations. Training is extensive and ongoing. Employees in this department have to pass background checks, drug and alcohol tests, etc. And so top of the class here as far as who's actually talking to your employees. And again, they're available 24/7. It's all US based. They're all InfoArmor employees. We do not outsource that component. So this is interesting. We treat, and this is not just a slogan, this really is our model in our customer care center. Every caller is a CEO. And by that we mean how responsive are we? What's our abandon rate? And this will give you a pretty good sense that most calls are answered quickly, most are resolved in that first call. A very low abandon rate, less than 3% actually. Very high satisfaction with the resolution that occurred. And then our Net Promoter Score, some of you may not be familiar with that. You'll see scores in the 40s and 50s and sometimes 60s with airlines and cell phone companies and hotels and things. Ours is actually above 90 now, and our nearest competitor is at 50. And so Net Promoter Score simply says, how likely are you to refer a product or a service to a friend or a coworker or family member? And so in our case, extremely high level of satisfaction, and the comfort level that they'll refer us is extremely high. So how do we know if it's successful? Well, it's all tied to enrollment, and it's tied to communication. The more you as the employer endorse this and communicate the offer, the more folks are going to be inclined to participate. Employees, as you likely know, really rely on your recommendation. They're trusting that you've done your due diligence and homework, and by the time you put a benefit in front of them, they have a high degree of confidence that this is a good solution for them and their family. I want to spend a few minutes on product, another minute, and then we'll look at some rates, and then we will wrap up. So this is a quick synopsis of what we're covering from an identity, financial, and privacy protection perspective. We've talked about credit monitoring, briefly identity monitoring, credit scores and report, social media monitoring. This is really interesting. If you've got kids online, you need this protection. We're going to alert you around cyberbullying, alcohol, drug references, sexual, predatory, or grooming comments and references. To me, it's worth the price of admission, the price of the program, just to have that social media monitoring capability. Digital wallet protection. We not only give you a vault to store information, we actually monitor the underground internet where a lot of this information is bought and sold. Threshold monitoring we discussed earlier. Digital exposure report. Simply when you join us, we're going to say, here's a snapshot of your digital footprint. We're going to give you a grade to let you know, hey, you've got some issues. Maybe it's an old resume, maybe it's old pictures, addresses, phone numbers, those kind of things. We'll alert you to where you might need to pay a little attention. We've talked about restoration and remediation, the $1 million insurance that wraps our product, financial transaction monitoring, we've covered that, and then solicitation reduction. We actually have some mechanisms that can help cut down on junk mails, credit card offers, and unsolicited calls. So there's some value there. Quick snapshot on, well, what happens when you enroll? Look in the center there of the screen, step 2. All of these features, once a person enrolls with the social and an email, they're going to turn on all of these alerts and monitoring capabilities. The last column on the right, step 3, these require an employee to go into their portal, which we do webinars and train them and show them how to do it. Pretty simple stuff. And then they just simply turn on. Do they want social media monitoring? Do they want the digital wallet protection? If you want event and specific credit alerts with details, simply click on that enable button again inside that portal. The last piece for today, and then we'll open up for questions if we have any, are just simply the rates. And so there's really 2 ways to look at purchasing InfoArmor protection. The first, and where we're seeing a shift, it's actually about 25% of our new accounts this year have gone employer paid. So simply locate your group size. Let's say there's 2,500 employees at your company. For as low as $2.25 a month per employee per month, you could cover the employee for 1 bureau. 3 bureaus is $4.25 a month. And then you can see what the buy-up rate is if they want to cover dependents. That's if you have the budget and you've decided your organization is serious about covering everyone, then you'd look at employer-paid rates. If you say, hey, we don't have the budget, but we do want to make it available, then it becomes a traditional voluntary offer through Payroll Deduction, where on the left, Privacy Armor Plus here is that 3 bureau product, roughly $10 a month per employee, roughly $18 for family. And let's talk about family quickly. It's any and all dependents who are under your roof or under your wallet. So think about an elderly parent in the home, kids, grandkids, college students, no age limits. So we end up typically covering more people for longer. So very liberal definition of, well, who's in the family? And then Privacy Armor is that 1 bureau solution, about $8 a month for employee and $14 for family. Well, Ben, that pretty much concludes my portion of the product presentation today. I will make an offer for those that are listening. If they'll just email ben@abenity.com, we can send you a complimentary membership of our 3-bureau product. You can use it, test it. We think if you're in HR or the C-suite, you should have access to InfoArmor even before you make a decision. And so I'll make that offer. Really no strings attached. Just tell us you'd like a membership and we'll get that out to you. So with that, Ben, I'm going to turn it back over to you, sir.
Paul, thank you so much for taking the time to share all this information with us today. That was, always as I learn more about this, it's a bit surprising and alarming at how big this issue has grown to be. As you went through that, that exposure test at the beginning, kind of with my own information a little bit there, that's certainly surprising to just see the details about me that are kind of out there that may have, been breached at different times with those services I use and just by the places I shop. So that's fantastic to see. I really think that this is extremely valuable for everyone that's joined us and watched through to here. I think you made a great choice jumping on today. I think you'll all agree that this is something that we all need to be more aware about, and that our employees and members should definitely know more about this and have the opportunity to help protect themselves, whether that's something you participate in or if that's something that you do as a voluntary option. So go ahead, if this is something that you want to learn more about or you'd like to get connected to Paul, I'm happy to help make that introduction. If you want to get an account and check that out, see what it's like inside the product yourself. It's really, really a cool product, and I've enjoyed using it myself as well. And so go ahead and shoot me an email, just Ben, B-E-N, @abenity.com, and we'll be glad to get you a demo and be able to show more of this to you. Thanks so much for joining us today, and thank you, Paul.
Thanks, Ben. Enjoyed it.